to another edition of the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves from just outside sunny Louisville, Kentucky, and in Maryland, the land of pleasant living, the old line state. Big John Webster, how you doing, my friend?
Jared, how you doing, man? Things are going well. Another exciting week in sports. Got a little rain going on here in Maryland today, but hey, the rain will help grow the flowers and the grass, and we'll get the sun in May. Something like that. I don't. It's a rhyme, but I don't know all the words, so we'll go with that. But in
Yeah.
sports, everything is going well, man. I can't ask for a better time of year than this. Uh, Real quick, we'll say, hey, he's not here again today. We miss him. John Pitt, we hope everything is well. We look to see you again real soon.
Mhm.
And with that being said, man, let's jump into some sports. NBA playoffs, man. You got some playing games coming up, man. You got Atlanta at Orlando, Memphis at Golden State, Miami at Chicago, Dallas at Sacramento, man. Go ahead, Derek. What you think, man?
Whew, I tell you, and I'd say any winner of these four series, I think you have to take them seriously as as a team to be aware of when they make it into the what I call the quote unquote real playoffs. And um, like Orlando, I've watched them several times this year, for example, and I feel like they're one of those dangerous teams. They're good enough to be competitive. Um, they might surprise you. I think about what they faced last year in the playoffs with Cleveland and really pushing that. They just didn't have enough to keep up with them. The most intriguing one is Memphis and Golden State, especially Golden State, where with Jimmy buckets added onto the roster, and Memphis is always a threat with John Morant. The winner of that series. I think could really make some noise in the Western Conference, and it doesn't matter who they would play. Let's see, Miami, Chicago. I don't really feel anything real strong about either one of those teams. That it'll be nice if they, it'll be nice for them if they win, but I just don't see them really giving, Cleveland any kind of go in the East. And Dallas and Sacramento, that's another one that I feel like, yeah, it'll be nice if they move on. Dallas is a far different team, of course, since they traded Luka to the Lakers, which I think what they got the 5 seed or something like that. So, Sacramento, yeah, a good story, but not enough that make me think that they'll pull an upset. What do you think?
Well, Atlanta and Orlando. I think Orlando's up and coming. What's the kid's name? He used to play at Duke, Pacheco.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Plays Orlando. I think he's
Hmm.
going to lead them to a victory in that game. Miami, Chicago. We're going to do that next. Let's go Dallas, Sacramento. Dallas and Sacramento. Dallas has Anthony Davis, but Kyrie Irving is hurt. Luka, as we know, has been traded. It's at Sacramento. I'm thinking Sacramento can pull that one out. We'll
Hmm.
see. I think Sacramento can pull that one out. Now, Miami, Chicago. Chicago's been playing really well at the end of the season, but there's something about Miami and playoff basketball. Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo. I think Miami takes out Chicago. That's my thoughts there. I
Yeah,
think they
that,
win.
that's what I think too is going to happen. I mean, I think Chicago is one of those teams that have flown under the radar this year, and for a reason. Again, there are teams that are good enough to be competitive, and if it was really under the old format, that they probably would be an 8 seed or something, or contending for an eight seed, which is in essence what I think they're doing now. So. Uh, yeah. I mean, I'd go along with you with Miami. The thing about this playing, I'm still trying to get my mind around how this thing works. Whether it's what best of three or something like that, and then they move on. I know a few years ago we saw Washington actually in one of these situations when they
What year was that? What was that? Was that in the 1970s? What you talking about?
It seems like it, but remember, that was a team that had Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal on the same roster, and they played well together. They just couldn't play defense. They could score like you wouldn't believe. They just couldn't defend.
I think the way they do it, and I'm could be wrong, Gary. The game, like example, the Memphis Golden State game. Whoever wins that game moves on to the seventh seed. They get Houston next.
Mhm.
Whoever loses that game gets another crack at it, if I'm understanding it right. And they would play against the winner of the Dallas Sacramento. The Sacramento game, the Sacramento game, whoever loses is eliminated. If I'm understanding it right. And
Mhm.
then say example, if Memphis beat Golden State, Golden State would get another crack and they say they play against Sacramento. And then I think that round right there, I think whoever, I think that's how it works. At least the first part of it, I know that's how it works.
Yeah.
Memphis,
Yeah.
Golden State, whoever wins the Memphis game goes into the seventh seed and plays Houston. Then that team that lost the Memphis Golden State game gets another crack at it. They play against the winner. I think they play against the winner of Dallas Sacramento. Because I think the loser of Dallas Sacramento is eliminated. If I'm understanding it correctly.
Yeah. 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 That sounds about right. It's like I think with Orlando and Atlanta, it's I guess like you said, they're playing for a seventh seed, and I think Miami, Chicago, they're playing for the eighth seed. That,
Right. Well, yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah. Pretty much, yeah. That's it.
yeah,
It's just Atlanta or Orlando. If whoever loses that gets another crack at it, Miami, Chicago, whoever loses is out.
hmm yeah,
So, and speaking of Memphis Golden State, I think that's going to be a very interesting game. I'm not. I really like Golden State. Want to see them go in advance. I'm just not sure that they can or they will. I think the Memphis game with Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Aaron Bain, that presents a problem for him. The big guy, Edie, I think I said his name right, played at
oh,
Purdue last
Zachy,
year.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so that presents a problem. I I I just think that this Golden State team this year, they're still undersized, in my opinion. And I just am not sure that they will come ready to play each and every night. They have to be, and I say this because they shouldn't even be in the playing game, but they couldn't take care of San Antonio. That was a game they should have won, and for whatever reason, San Antonio beat them on the last second shot.
yeah.
But that should not
And
have
then
happened.
Sunday's game, the game against the Clippers too, was one
That
where they missed opportunity.
that missed opportunities, but the Clippers are going to give people problems in the playoffs, Gary.
I
They got
agree.
that guy Kawhi Leonard back playing again. When he's healthy and he's working on all cylinders, he's one of the best players in the league. You got James Harden. It seems like he's content and happy right now in LA, and he's a load to deal with.
Yeah,
And that was rough on Golden State, but I
yeah,
think I want Golden State to beat Memphis. I really do. I'm hoping they beat Memphis. I'm just not sure they will. Also, keep in mind that Jimmy Butler got kneed in his thigh late in the game. He was trying to defend Kawhi Leonard, and he caught a knee from Leonard. Jimmy Butler is tough as nails. He's not going to complain, but you still don't know the extent of that injury. You don't know how he's going to be tonight. Um, I really hope they win. I'm just really not sure they will. I think with Jimmy Butler, they've really turned their season around, but I'm just not sure. They had something on Sunday which was strange. Uh, I'm not saying it was right or wrong, just strange. You had Jonathan Kaminga. If I'm not mistaken, he was a DMP on Sunday. Didn't
Right.
play any minutes. I don't understand that. I'm not saying coaches can do. I'm not saying just because I don't understand it, it's wrong or right. It's just I don't understand it. Um, we just go from there, see what happens with it, man. But you got some other games coming up this week too, Gary. You got Milwaukee at Indiana. You got the Clippers at Denver. You got Detroit with the Knicks, and you got Minnesota and the Lakers, man. What's going to happen there?
Woo. Let's see where to start. Where to start? Okay. Uh, hmm. Hold on, I'm just waiting for my matchups to come up. I would say probably. Hmm, hmm. I'm gonna let you start that off because I'm still trying to get my. There was something I wanted to make one more thought about Golden State before I move
Go
on.
ahead.
Okay. The thing about Golden State, that struck a nerve when you basically said something doesn't seem right. And Sunday, I think the most head-scratching decision by Steve Kerr was having Buddy Hield take a shot with the game on the line, as opposed to Steph Curry, which of course any team that faces Golden State know that's where the ball is going to probably end up in his hands. But and that's where I thought it would go. But Buddy Hield, I don't know if that was supposed to be a diversion or what, but it was just curious on their part. And I mean, it cost them a game, and really, I think it cost them seeding as well. So that's one that I think, okay, now they've got a chance to kind of redeem themselves. And the other thing about that series is you're going to see two dynamic scorers in John Morant and Curry, obviously, and I think that will be the thing that's going to be worth watching. Where you almost want to bring the popcorn maker in the living room with you, or the microwave, whatever you want to, however you do your popcorn. And that's one that I think can be very, very exciting. Don't expect too much defense, even though I think Golden State plays better defense than the Grizzlies. So that's my thought on that. Let's see. In the East. Hmm. Hmm.
Well, let's go with these other four playoffs. You got Milwaukee at Indiana, you got the
Yeah.
Clippers at Denver, you got Detroit at the Knicks, and you got Minnesota at the Lakers. Milwaukee and Indiana, what's going to happen?
I like Indiana in that series simply because of Tyrese Halliburton and how he not so much that he can light it up, but the way that he works for shots. And I think it was that game winner he hit from deep in the left corner. I mean, it was like he was shadowed. He had no room, no wiggle room to move, and just jacked it up there and hit a three. And they went on to win the game, of course. That's again, I think a team that's really playing the best at the right time of season. I think that's Indiana. I'm not too sold on the Bucks right now. They seem off. I mean, besides the coaching changes and some of the trades that they've made, that's one that I would lean probably toward the Pacers. And I guess in the other series, the Knicks and Pistons. I don't think you can't look past the Pistons. They are a gritty team. They remind me a little bit of the bad boys of the late 80s. And that's one that I feel like the Knicks, I think that they have more scoring and inside presence. But to use one of your terms, John, that's going to be a slobber knocker. And don't be surprised if there might be some shoves exchanged and maybe a couple of punches thrown.
Let's hope not, Gary. Let's hope not. Now,
Mhm.
what about the Clippers in Denver?
Oh, wow. Now that's an intriguing series. The Nuggets. Now I'll say let's go back 2 years, John, to when they were the number one seed. Neither one of us trusted them, right? If you recall,
Mm-hmm.
and they went on to win the title because of
Mm-hmm.
Joker and because of Jamal Murray,
Murray.
just
Yeah.
really lighten it up and such. I think I think that I think if they play like they're supposed to, that they can win that. But the Clippers are just a dangerous team. If everything is working correctly for them. I mean, you mentioned Kawhi Leonard and and James Harden, and I think especially Harden. Um, I don't want to say he's playing the best basketball of his career. I think he is involving people a lot more than he gets credit for. Because there was one play, it didn't work, but he was going to the basket and then he just kind of flipped it behind his back to a trailer that we didn't even know was there. Guy just wasn't ready for the pass, but I just thought for him to have that kind of court awareness for a guy that likes to shoot the ball, I think it just shows how much he's enjoying himself and he trusts his teammates, and that's no small thing, when you get into the playoffs. Let's see. Let me try to think of another one. Oh yeah, the Lakers and Timberwolves. Who do you like in that one? I'll tell you mine, but I want to hear what you have to say about that one first.
Lakers. That
And
one word, Lakers.
okay, okay, and give me a reason why.
I think the combination of Doncic and LeBron is powerful. I think they have worked very well and very unselfishly to be on the court together at the same time. It is working extremely well. But it also, when you have two players on your court, on your team, and you have to defend against two players who have that much court acumen, it is really rough to defend against. They got Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves is playing really well too.
Yeah,
Rui. I can't even think of the kid's last name. Rui. He used to
Hachimura.
play with the. What is it?
Yeah, I think it's Hachimura who played with the
Hashimura.
Wizards.
Yeah, he's a good role player. He does a few good things there. But I think the difference in the series, honestly, Gary, it's going to be too much Luca, too much LeBron. I don't
You
think.
don't you don't like Ant at all? Making that
I
making
think
that
I
a
think
series?
Anthony Davis is a very good player. I think
No,
he's one
no,
of
I
the best.
mean he's making a difference. Being a key in that series.
He will make a difference, but will everybody else come to the party with him? That's my question.
Yeah, that's a fair question. Because and when I say this, it's like I really like him, but I don't know what you're going to get out of Julius Randle from game to game. And I think durability is a question with him at times as well. You had mentioned the same thing with Jimmy Butler, that I feel like any team, well, with those two players, their team's chances ride on how healthy and engaged they are, but particularly how healthy, because I think Randall's a tough player, but he's just had too many nagging little injuries that have limited him the last few seasons. And he's a guy that I think again when he's at his best, when he's fully healthy and fully engaged, he can be a difference maker and a good complement to Anthony Edwards. But you just don't know what you're going to get from maybe one or two games to the next, 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I think a really important piece to this puzzle for Minnesota, Nas Reed. Got to get a solid performance out of Nas Reed on both ends of the court. And like I said, I pretty much know what Anthony Edwards is going to do. And I think you do too. We all do. The
Yeah,
thing is, who else will come to the dance with him?
yeah,
That's the key.
yeah.
But we're going to see. We got some interesting matchups for this, Gary, and you broke it down really well. Before we go to the next subject, I'll just say Milwaukee, Indiana. I'll take Indiana. Clippers in Denver. I'm going out on a limb, and I'm going to say the Clippers.
Hmm.
Detroit and the Knicks, that's a toss-up. I'm going to say the Knicks, but don't be surprised if Detroit wins the game. So, interesting series coming up. Now, let's swing on in. Nice segue. Let's swing on into baseball.
Oh,
The
wait a minute. We forgot
Baltimore
coaches,
Orioles.
man. We remember we were going to talk about coaches, coaching changes.
Coaching changes it is. We had Mike Budenhauser, David Griffin, Mike Malone, and Taylor Jenkins. They have all lost their jobs. Never want anybody to lose their job. Unfortunate. It happens, but I think with Malone and Jenkins, that may still have somewhat an effect on how their teams are going to perform in the playoffs and how far they go.
Hmm.
Budenholzer was in a rough situation with Phoenix, and that ownership group. They remind me of an ownership group that used to be here in Washington. They used to own the Washington Commanders, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
And David Griffin, you know, potential. Coach Thompson used to say this: potential to get you fired. You know,
True.
potential to get you fired. And he drafted Zion Williamson. And what did he
Hmm.
play in 40% of the games in
Yeah.
New Orleans?
Yeah. I think he's missed something like the equivalent of three whole seasons in his career or something.
Yeah.
It
So
was just some ridiculous number. And the only thing I'll say about the Pelicans is that with any sport, any organization, even in a corporate world, success and failure starts at the top. And there's just something about the Pelicans that I don't know, they just don't have that kind of winning mentality. You could start with maybe trading away Anthony Davis, and how that whole thing went down. Just they've just been an organization where trades haven't worked out. They've either been voided or they've just made curious trades that just didn't work. And you know, I mean, like I feel like them and the Wizards are teams that to me are in the NBA's version of the witness protection program. You know that they're out there, but it's just they just have no identity at all. The Pelicans, though, are more identified with Zion Williamson's absences than making any kind of substantial gains as a playoff team or potential playoff team, to use your word, and really trying to get basketball popular down there because I think New Orleans would be a great market for basketball if they could be successful. But nobody wants to come out to look at a bum team. We know that in Washington, don't we?
they are a challenge. That's all I'll say about the Wizards, Bullets, whatever you want to call them. They are a challenge.
Yeah, yeah. But and that's all Budenholzer, I'll just say that's a team that I'll never understand how 3 years ago they were competing for an NBA title. I mean, they were playing for an NBA title, and now they're basically a lottery team. And I mean, despite having a big three that should get them there, between Durant and Bradley Beal and gosh, I'm trying to think.
Booker.
And Booker, that's right. Yeah. And Devin Booker. I mean, you look at that and you think, that alone should be worth 44 wins, but they only had 36, and something's wrong there. Then you just got to start over. I do think Budenholzer is a decent coach. I mean, didn't the guy win an NBA championship or something at some point? Am I
Won it
correct?
with Milwaukee about 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And what he couldn't last one season in Phoenix, with all that talent. That's one, like you said, starts with the organization, and now we can move on to baseball.
Well, I'll make it short and sweet, Gary. I know you're gonna let me talk about the Orioles. Right now, the Orioles are in last place, but it's still early. They're only back 2.5 games.
Hmm.
I went to see him. J.R. Dante and I went to see him Sunday against the Toronto Blue Jays. Uh, Big game. They were playing well. They were winning the whole game. The only time, excuse me, that they were losing is when they ended up losing 7-6 in the 10th inning. That's the only time they did not have the lead. They were tied up at 1-1, tied up at 2-2. What is it? 3-2, 4-2, 4-3, 6-3. They were tied up at 6-6 and they lost 7-6. So, and what got them in the 8th inning, they brought in Soto and he gave up 3 runs. That's rough. Gary, I'm going to give you some names. And these are names. These are 8 pitchers. Grayson Rodriguez, Zach Eflin, Al Suarez, Kyle Bradish, Tyler Wells, Trevor Rogers, Kittredge, Chase McDermott. That's 8 pitchers. Do you want to know what they all have in common?
Can't finish games.
They're all on the injured list.
Oh man, they can't even start games.
Yeah, that's 8 pitchers. That's take 4 apiece and you can put them on another major league team. Right now, the Orioles have as the current starting pitchers K. Povich, Charlie Morton, Dean Kramer, and Tomoyuki Sugano. Today, Charlie Morton is pitching. He's 0-3 with an 8 ERA. 8. So they need to keep finding a way to hold on until they can get some of these parts back. Rodriguez is scheduled to come back in May. Eflin, maybe he'll be back in late May, early June. Suarez, maybe in June. So we'll see. They got a series against Cleveland coming up this week. And then this weekend, they have the Cincinnati Reds. They need to keep treading water, hanging in there, find a way. I think the bats are coming around, but the pitching has got to tighten up. Batista had a save opportunity on Saturday, which he did. They won 5-4 over Toronto. He did a great job. But these pitchers have to tighten up. The kid that was pitching Sunday, you get ahead of a batter 0-2, you got to take that batter out. You got to get him to hit it into the field to somebody and throw him out, or you got to strike him out. You get down, he gets the batter, Alejandro Kirk, down 0-2, he throws him a tater. That's a home run. That should not happen. You know, when you get them down 0-2, you got to finish them out. You got to finish them out. And that's the thing I think right now. The Orioles have to find some pitching to hold on until the cavalry is able to get in here and rescue them. But we'll see, man. We'll see.
You know, one thing I wanted to ask you, since you're disappointed in the start, and I look at it this way, John. They're one series away from being 500. And
correct.
This is so that's the thing you have to look forward to. In terms of having 8 pitchers that are injured, that's not good. And if you're lucky to get half of them back, that brings up hope. And I like the Orioles over the long run as opposed to the interim, just because they got a closer, and he's working his way back, right? So you get
the closer. I'm pretty comfortable with that. I think he's going to be okay.
Yeah.
The thing is, I ain't mean to cut you off, but I'll just say, and I think I may know where you're going with it. Bautista's going to be okay. Can you get to Bautista?
Yeah.
Can you get there? And that's the question. These pitchers, like Povich the other day, Povich went 4 2/3 innings. You couldn't get 5 out of him. Couldn't get 6 out of him. You see, if you get 6, you really want 7. But if you get 6, then you can go Keegan Aiken. Then you can go Dominguez. Then you can go Bowman. Then you can throw Soto in there. Then Bautista. The thing is, can you get to 6 or 7? That's the question. Can you get to 6 or 7? And then you can go with your bullpen. That's the part I'm not sure about. Because if every game all your pitchers can do is get to 4, then you got problems each and every game. You're going to burn your bullpen out. So you got to find some length in some of these starting pitchers somewhere, somehow.
Yeah. Another thing, John, I feel like you can look forward to is that at least the Orioles aren't the Atlanta Braves. At least you're not an Atlanta Braves fan. I don't know what's going on. And I was going to ask you which team is the biggest disappointment so far out of the gate? I mean, I would
Well,
probably put the Braves. I mean, the Orioles again. I feel like it's relative that again they're one series away, but I'm mystified by the Braves. Being in last place behind the Nationals of all teams. And I'm a Nationals fan, but I always feel like the Nationals are one of those teams that is always going to be looking up at the rest of the division, and they're only 5 games out, but the Atlanta Braves are 6 games out, and they just don't seem like I don't think they've won a series all year. And it's still young, but just
Atlanta
like
Braves
that.
are,
I don't think the Orioles have won a series all year either.
they have not, but the Orioles didn't start off 0-8 either. But
True. It just
but
seemed like it.
yeah. The thing I look at with the Orioles, I'll say this. This does remind me of the old Oriole days when Earl Weaver was managing them. April was always rough. They started coming together in May and they caught fire in June. And as it got hotter, they played even better. So I'm not totally in the bum out about them, but I am concerned with the pitching. I mean, I look at the everyday fielders. Okay, I'm looking at Mountcastle at first. I have no problem there. I'm looking at Jackson Holiday at second or Westburg. No problem there. I'm looking at Gunnar Henderson. I don't even have to say what I think about Gunnar Henderson. And then at third base, you're either going Urias or you're going Westburg, depending on what the day of the week is or who's pitching. The outfield, you got Mullins always has a great April. The thing you got to worry about, can he have a good May? That's sometimes when he goes into a slump.
Mhm.
Out in outfield with Mullins, the key is Cowles is out with a fractured thumb. He won't be back until June. So you're playing out there right now. You're playing Heston Kjerstad, and you're also playing Tyler O'Neill. So, and Ryan O'Hearn, depending on what the situation is. I'm not too concerned about the position players. They're going to put it together. My concern is the pitching, the pitching, the pitching, the pitching. Am I disappointed? Yes. Am I thoroughly disappointed? No. Do I think they're going to turn it around? Yes. Atlanta Braves, that's totally something I never saw coming. I can't even put into words what's going on there.
Yeah. And I think again, in that case, you have to remember that it's a marathon and not a sprint. Just the same way I feel like with the San Diego Padres, winning. I think they're 12-4 to start, and I think it's a very good team. But as long as the Giants and Dodgers are, they're right behind them, especially the Dodgers. The Dodgers, as good as they were in winning the World Series last year, I think now that they know how good they are with Otani, he's, I mean, last year for first year to have that kind of season, be the MVP and such, I think was real impressive. I think that guy could really, really blow up. I think, Mookie Betts could have one of his best seasons ever. But San Diego is just like one of those quietly dangerous teams. Like, again, they're under the radar despite, having the most wins in the majors. But I don't think people know how good they are. They have to be more in the spotlight as opposed to say the Giants and the Dodgers, who get the TV time for for good reasons. And speaking of the Dodgers, John, we have to remember a special day, Jackie Robinson Day, and I think let's see, what is it, 57 years since he broke into the majors. That it's a special day around baseball. Everybody will wear number 42. His number has been retired in perpetuity. Um, and I think when we talk about some of the best players, we have to think about what Jackie Robinson, the influence that he had, and when he came in and just how he conducted himself and opened doors for his teammates and for just about anybody else of color who's entered the major leagues. Your thoughts?
Jackie Robinson is very important to baseball, to our history, and to this country. He was a gentleman who stepped up in a very difficult situation. First black player playing the major leagues. Came out of the Negro Baseball League. And there were others that could have come up. Satchel Paige, Josh Gibson,
Larry
to
Doby.
name a couple.
Yeah.
But Jackie Robinson was chosen because they knew how he would handle that situation. You have to be in that time, well, in these times period, you have to be one who can be able to express himself and be able to handle situations in a nonviolent manner. Branch Rickey realized that, and he said it to Jackie Robinson, to respond to some of this hate and negativity will just set everything else back. You have to be strong enough not to respond. And that was Jackie Robinson. Now, everybody's not going to agree with how Jackie Robinson handled it, and I get it. But sometimes it's not about you, it's for a greater cause. And Jackie Robinson was able to see and be part of a greater cause. And through him, you have Larry Doby's, you have Josh Gibson's, you have Satchel Paige, you have Frank Robinson's, you have many, many more who I am not
Roberto
naming right
Clemente,
now.
the one.
Roberto Clemente's, he started it. Hank Aaron's.
Oh
It's it's
yeah.
because of it's because of what Jackie Robinson stood for, lived for, and did. My hat's off to him, and it's off to Major League Baseball for each year recognizing the contributions of this very great man.
Indeed. I do feel like on another note, John, that because of Jackie, both of us are doing what we do. With you organizing leagues, but running an organization that help get youth and I guess adults into leagues. I mean, he opened so many doors. We wouldn't be here doing what we do without him. And I think that might be one of his greatest legacies is that, it was just, and on the one hand, you can look at it as baseball, but like you said, it was on a grander scale, and it just created something that we've all been able to benefit from and take advantage of.
Couldn't say it better myself, Gary. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Remember this week, Gary and I want you to watch some sports, watch some football, watch some basketball, watch some more golf, watch some hockey. But above all else, just watch some sports and then come back and see us real soon. Take care.